Hello, welcome to Hotline.
Welcome to the Hotline. Thank you so much for joining me today, Thursday, the 18th, October 2018. Great being with you. Welcome to those joining on JNN for Hotline Interface. Thank you for joining on onespotmedia.com, on RGR94fm.com, on JNN News Network, on your cell phones from the US, UK, Canada, wherever in the world you are, and on the 94 FM band in Jamaica. This is the Hotline.
Emily's views, her position on the issues, her point of view backed up by the facts. Here are Emily's views.
I was going to bring some pom-poms on set this morning, but I never had time to make them, so I'm so sorry. So I'm just going to say, yeah, reggae girls, go reggae girls. Jamaica became the first Caribbean nation to qualify for FIFA Women's World Cup after yesterday's win over Panama in their CONCACAF Women's Championship third place playoff in Texas in the United States. And so Jamaica are now the first Caribbean nation to qualify a team to both the men's and the Women's World Cup, following the Reggae Boys trip in 1998, and that also took place in France. So as I celebrated a moment ago, congratulations to the Reggae girls. But listen, I don't cheat. I know absolutely nothing about this team. I've not watched them at all, nor do I know anything about a group which I'm learning is a very wonderful bunch. And there can be many reasons for that, but nothing around me, to be honest, was exciting me about this. Nothing. And that is really sad, and it has to change. I know a team when I know the players. I know the positions they play. So when I'm watching Arsenal, for example, I can tell you from the back line coming up, if the ball is passed to the left or to the right, I'm literally giving the commentary as to who is collecting, who is running down the flank, who is to cross, and who is going to head it home. And invariably we do at Arsenal. I mean, we used to. I know as well the communities that they live in and so forth. But I don't know anything at all about the Reggae girls. And it is true that female sport is not treated as well as male sport, and that must change. So newsrooms, your sports centers must build the hype around our players so that sports enthusiasts, as I am, can be revved up to watch the games, to know when the games are coming on, and to be a part of the complete synergy that now is the Reggae girls on their historic qualification. So my apologies for that, Reggae girls, and I will learn more about you after the fact, which I don't like, but I'll get up to speed with you, okay? Approximately 2 years ago, we had news that a couple schools had failed to submit school-based assessments for students to the CXC headquarters, resulting in students getting U or ungraded in their CSEC exams. We vowed that it would never happen again. However, I've learned that a whole cohort of fourth formers, no fifth formers, who attend Excelsior have received U in the CSEC exams for this year, as their math teacher did not submit their SBAs to CSEC. I'm told it's about 50 to 70 students who are impacted. I haven't had much more details than that, but I know the parents are not happy, neither the students. I'm asking the Ministry of Education to step in and investigate this hastily and see if anything can be done, even weeks after we've had the CSEC results. Last thing in Emily's views for today. Canada has become the first G7 nation and the second country in the world to legalize marijuana and to allow a nationwide marijuana market. You may recall in December 2013, Uruguay was the first country to legalize the production, sale, and consumption of marijuana. Legalization of marijuana in Canada is not just legalization for medicinal uses, Jamaica, but for recreational uses as well. And all of this coming out of a campaign promise made by no Prime Minister, a promise that he has kept. I must tell you, I'm completely surprised by the move, and I'm watching to see what impact, if any, it will have on all aspects of the Canadian society. We have had an issue here in Jamaica with the designation of ganja by the World Health Organization, which has led to us having great difficulties in finding banks that will accept proceeds from ganja sales. We now need to see what will be particularly the United States' reaction to this move by Canada. Let's take, for example, somebody intending to cross the border between Canada and the United States, and a man has just puffed up some serious indica on the Canadian side. And if he's to be tested before he goes over into the American side, what is he going to tell the border agency? Can he then be held for use of some substance which is illegal in the United States, but not so in Canada? Remember as well, Jamaicans, you are not allowed to take the ganja into Canada. So if you think you can be boarding whatever airline it is, leaving here with your stash of ganja because they say it's legal, see you at Hunts Bay. Yeah? The bottom line is there's a lot that must be debated about this move, especially in a society where alcohol can be bought by somebody over 18 or 19, depending on where you are in Canada. Once you're an adult, you can buy it. What of the double consumption of alcohol and marijuana? What is it going to do? What impact is it going to have on the statistics on the road fatalities? I'm watching it with great interest. I like a revolutionary leader. I like one that can take the big jump, as Justin Trudeau has done. But I'm really not so sure yet about this move to completely legalize the use of marijuana for medicinal and for recreational purposes in Canada. But we watch and we learn. Those are Emily's views for today.
Join us next time for Emily's Views on the Hotline.
We're back with you on the hotline on RJR 94 FM. Thank you so much for joining me on JNN for Hotline Interface. I'm Emily Shields. In today's program, the debate has started once more in the House of Representatives on a motion aimed at allowing women to safely have abortions. The motion was moved by Member of Parliament for West Rural St. Andrew, Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn. Complications from abortions, those were the 8th leading cause of maternal deaths among adolescents in Jamaica. And in Parliament, Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn gave a background to the reason, one of the reasons why she was mounting this campaign at this time, citing a constituent of hers who died because of an unsafe abortion. The Jamaican law criminalizes an attempt at an abortion, with women who attempt to terminate a pregnancy facing the possibility of life. Those who assist in the process can be imprisoned for up to 3 years. And so Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, she's here to tell us, give us some more background to this motion that she has moved. She's had a lot of criticisms. I've certainly had some men call me on this program. They said, "That lady there, that she want to come with to kill out the baby now, but we burn that." And you're going to expect to have those sentiments. But let's see if we can just drill down to the issues affecting women in Jamaica and what it is that MP Cuthbert-Flynn is wanting to do. Welcome to Hotline Interface. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Right. So let me just cut viewers, listeners, and just read for you quickly the law, the sections now that operate in Jamaica, Section 72 and 73 of the Offences Against the Person Act. Attempts to procure abortion is the title. Every woman being with child who with intent to procure her own miscarriage shall unlawfully administer to herself any poison or other noxious thing, or shall unlawfully use any instrument or other means whatsoever with like intent and whoever with intent to procure the miscarriage of any woman, whether she be or be not with child, shall unlawfully administer to her or cause to be taken by her any poison or noxious thing, or shall unlawfully use any instrument or other means whatsoever with like intent, shall be guilty of a felony, and being convicted thereof shall be liable to imprisonment for life, with or without hard labor. What that means, any woman who tries to abort a child, and you take any poisonous substance, or if you use any instrument and try to pluck the child from your womb, or if there's any person who intending to have somebody have a miscarriage, administer or give to the person any poison or anything that is noxious, or if the person who intends to help uses any instrument to pluck the fetus from the womb, you're going to be guilty of a serious crime. And that serious crime, the penalty for that is similar to the penalty for murder, which is life with or without hard labor. That's the background. What is wrong with this law, Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn?
This law has been here from 1864, and I think it's time to take the criminality out of this and replace with a civil law named Termination of Pregnancy Act. And this, of course, was recommended by an abortion policy review group back in 2007, 2008, and put stipulations in place, of course, as to how, when a woman can possibly procure an abortion.
So you want stipulations in the law now as to when it can happen? Meaning if there's a
policy
health
group,
risk?
right, the policy group had made certain suggestions. And I think if we go back to what the group had suggested, I think some of those things are workable. I think women are going to continuously have abortion. They're going to seek out whether if it's illegal, they are definitely going to go underground, which is what is happening with countries who have not legalized abortion at any extent, like Jamaica. In Barbados, they've done it for women in case the woman's life is threatened. Also in Guyana, they've moved that way. In Jamaica, you're not supposed to procure an abortion no matter what. And a doctor should not even terminate a pregnancy, even if the mother's life is in danger. And so I think that is where my point is, there are women, there are girls still seeking the underground route. And if it is that, and it's because it's taboo, because it's hush-hush, you can't come out and say, I would love to see a robust adoption policy put in place in Jamaica, where adoption is made much easier than it is. I would love to see centers where women, if they do end up being raped by whomever, underage or even older, and they end up pregnant, that if it is that the thought comes into their mind that they want to have an abortion, that they can readily go to a center and possibly seek some sort of a counseling. That is not available. Yes, people are counseling people, yes. We are aware of that persons may come to an individual, whether it's a pastor or a person that they trust in the community. But remember, again, this is not, it's on the books that it is unlawful to do so, to even speak to anyone about even the thought of having an abortion. And so I think there's certain things that needs to be in place, you know, I mean, just to educate our women, we have to put some things in place if it is that, or we need to then carry out the law. The law, nothing has been happening. People are procuring abortions, and nothing is happening to these women. So if it is that groups want to see something happen, maybe that can be a push to see something happen. But to say, allow these women to drink whatever they take, or to get an abortion illegally, and it doesn't matter, because they are
It's against the law.
It's against the law. I don't think that's the way we should go.
So what I'm hearing you say, Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, is your position is not completely pro-choice, meaning you're not saying, let us move to a position from where we are now to abortion on demand, irrespective of the reasons.
Right.
You're not there.
Right, no.
You're asking for certain circumstances, like if a woman is raped.
If a woman is raped at a certain time in her pregnancy, the age of the woman is also important to me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Emily, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old sometimes, under parental guidance, of course, I don't think some of those girls who get pregnant are able to really make a choice in what should happen to their body. And so I think in situations like that, and we do have, and I think we need, if we come out and really are honest, we do have a lot of rape cases in Jamaica where family members are holding down our little girls and raping them, and they're pregnant. They end up pregnant.
So you're thinking if there is, obviously there it'll be non-consensual if the girl is under 18, under 16. So you're thinking if a young girl under the age of 16 becomes pregnant, then it should be open to the parents or to the young girl to have an abortion. You want the law to reflect that.
Right.
And if you are over 16 or whatever and you're raped.
Depending on your circumstance, I think something needs to be put in place. And again, the policy review group, it is there with some of the suggestions made as to how to proceed. And I think that is how this parliament should proceed. I think we have debated this more than once. I think the suggestions were made as to how to proceed, and I think now we need to really look at the bigger picture and say to ourselves, you know, abortion is going to continue even after this debate if we do nothing.
Right. But why not go completely pro-choice? Why not say, I'm into a woman's right to choose, irrespective of the circumstances, even if she's married, and she might feel, you know, I didn't expect this child, I didn't want this child, no, I should be free to have an abortion. Or if I'm an adult who is in a committed relationship or not, and I become pregnant and I don't think it's the right time, I feel like I should. Why didn't you go that route, completely pro-choice, as opposed to the special circumstances under which you would like abortion to be an option for a woman?
Well, and I think because of the group and the study that was done back in 2007, 2008. And yes, I still do believe that it is a right for a woman to choose, because if it is, as you said, a woman is married and choose not to, it should be her right to actually say, no, I don't want another child. Of course, at, you know, a particular time, and these things were specified, the amount of weeks that you're pregnant, etc. And so, yes, I do believe that. But remember, the society, the culture that we're in, I think if we go this route, I think we will possibly see less deaths from women procuring abortions on the ground. And I think that is where I'm trying to get to. I know, as I said, of cases, I hear of these cases, and I'm sure you possibly as a woman have heard of cases of women you know, getting an abortion and it all goes wrong. And so I believe something must be done, because it is still going to happen. It's happening.
Right.
And then what do we do? Do we sit and do absolutely nothing?
Are you concerned, though, that it could be used as some kind of contraception, for want of a better word? We don't have sexual safe practices, and then we turn around and want to abort a child?
Of course. I mean, you know, as a human being with a conscience, I mean, you would have to, and this is why I'm saying, I think it's important to put facilities in place. It is important to counsel these women. It is important to counsel them on proper contraceptive. Emily, nobody taught me about contraceptive. I had to learn on my own.
What even taught about sex?
Sex. We weren't even taught about sex. And so I had to pretty much learn on my own. Think about all the young women who it's totally taboo. You can't, they have no one to really talk to about sex, about contraceptive, when, how it's used. And so I think the education part must be a part of this whole thing. It has to be where you have a place where women can actually go, sit, talk with someone, speak with a nurse, if they can't speak with their mom or dad,
Right.
or uncle or aunt or whomever, to give them guidance. I think that must be in place where they feel comfortable, and I don't think we're there. I really don't think as a nation, as a society, that we are there.
Right.
That people feel comfortable enough to go into a center and say, you
Yes.
know, X, Y, and Z, and tell me about contraceptive. And you do have groups who believe
Yes.
that you should not use any contraceptive whatsoever. Then how do they learn about the rhythm method? Who teaches them that? How do they learn that?
In biology.
So, well, are we teaching all of that?
At school, yeah.
You know, are they learning these
The
things?
boys too.
And the boys too. Well, I mean, and so these things must be coupled with whatever it is that's going to be put in place.
Right. So the response from your group, the MPs in the House, what has that been like?
It's mixed. It's mixed. We know of some MPs who are part of this particular advisory group back in 2007, 2008, and they're still in the House of Parliament. And then there's some, of course, who totally oppose this motion. And so
What about the opposition?
it is going to be, no, it,
Because Dr. Dayton
is,
Campbell,
I
I
don't
think, had
think
called
it's
for a
right.
similar motion.
I don't think it's a party
Yes.
thing, really.
Yeah.
I've heard pros and pro and
Cons.
pro-life and pro-choice on both sides. And so I think it's very mixed. So I don't think it's anything to do with party lines or anything like that when it comes to
and
abortion.
perhaps it's quite rooted in our religiosity,
Yeah.
our relationship with God, our relationship with Christianity. A lot of us think, why on earth would a woman raise this motion
Yeah.
when we know that we're sticking with what the Bible
Bible
says,
says.
and it is frowned upon, it is sinful from the position of the Bible. How do you, as a woman in a largely Christian society, though many have strayed from the teachings of God, how do you respond to people who come with that argument to you?
And it's very difficult, Emily. I mean, I've sat, quite a Christian group came to my office, and we sat, we spoke, and I listened. I don't believe that we should kill, murder anyone. But when you look at what I'm saying, when you look at the study that we're seeing, when we look at the women who are ending up at Jubilee Hospital, when we look at women who don't make it to Jubilee, when we look at women who end up dying, like my constituent dying at home, who just bled out, what do we do? What do I say? What do I speak up for that person? As a parliamentarian, I think I have a duty, whether it's the right thing to do for in your eyes, or the right thing for me to do in my eyes. I'm there to advocate. I'm there to, where there's legislatures, to change the law. And all I'm trying to do is to skew the law in a different way, to say, at least give the woman a choice and educate them, give them the workable methods for them to actually go seek out and speak to someone. Because I think if this person and other persons in the constituency or around Jamaica in general were free enough or felt free enough to go and speak to someone, I don't think it would have ended that way. It would not be the 8th cause of maternal deaths in Jamaica. Why is this happening? So I think we have to really think about, you have to just think about the whole perspective, the whole thing.
Right.
And I know that some Christians even say, you know, well, what happens when it comes to a woman's life being in danger? I've known of women who the baby had to be taken, I guess, at a certain stage. Is that still not the same thing? Because you're stopping...
Taken dead
taken
or
by-
alive?
Well, you have to take the baby some way.
Yeah.
The baby's still gonna die, right? So even if you take the baby and then the baby isn't resuscitated or anything,
Yeah.
you allow the child to die.
Yeah.
To save the mother, isn't that the same thing? And so how do we then, you know, how do we
Right.
balance?
Yeah.
Because you're saying if it is that this is to save the woman's life, so is the woman's life even more important than that unborn at maybe 5 months that you would have taken,
Yes.
that terminated the pregnancy?
How do you reconcile
How do
that?
you reconcile? Well,
Yes.
I mean, and these are the things that we must ask ourselves.
Right.
These are the things that, and I hear this from both ends. So what do? Do we allow, then, since the mother's life is in danger, do we allow the mother to also die, knowing that the mother's life is in danger and they're both going to die anyway?
Right, so if the mother's life is, I get the mother's life being in danger, but let's take, for example, a rape case where it's an awful crime, and the father, if caught, is likely to get life sentence because that is his punishment. But the young lady who is now pregnant is carrying a child, she's in perfectly good form, and there's no threat to, or no medical threat to her life at all. Why is it that you would want, under those circumstances, the option to be given to the mother to terminate the pregnancy? Is it because of the act of rape itself? You think the woman can't get past
The emotional distress, and there is this emotional suicide. People do or abortion suicide. There are women who actually will try to kill themselves. There are some women who cannot deal with. Fine, it's great. There are lots of women, I think, in Jamaica who have been raped, and they carry that child to full term, and they're able to deal with that.
and to love the child
And to love
after?
the child unconditionally. And that's wonderful. I'm not saying if you're raped, then we need to just terminate the pregnancy. No. If the young girl or woman is capable mentally, then fine. If that person is going through a lot psychologically, emotionally, then we need to give them that option, that choice to choose.
Right.
And we're not doing that at this time. And so that is the stance that I take.
Right. I have somebody on Twitter saying, highly gaily, Mrs. Shields, what about the life of the child who is being aborted? I think you've kind of responded to that, but is there anything you'd like to add to what about that life? Do you believe that life begins from conception, as the Christians believe? And why are we, because of the mental state of this person who is carrying the child, and pregnancy, as you know, invariably, it's an emotional time. It's like our hormones are completely out of whack, and the things that we could ordinarily deal with, we just can't because of us carrying the child. Why don't we think that when the child comes, then one emotional state will be different and we might settle down? The question, what about this child who is being aborted?
And Emily, yes, there are those questions, but I think it's still up to me as the woman to actually make that decision about my body. I think that's where that's what I will say. It is still up to me to make that decision about my body.
Right. And is this motion, is it something that your constituents petitioned you to push, or you thought in light of the situation of your one constituent you needed to push this?
It's that and a number of other reasons.
Right.
Why I decided to do that, because I hear of the prevalence of botched abortions in the constituency or in Jamaica, period. And just reading over the years some of the things that I've read in the paper about botched abortions. And yes, the constituents will, or you will hear things that has taken place. And I think I had to ask myself, what can I do? Did she try to do this because of the law? That she possibly felt that she would go to jail if she even mentioned why she ended up, not being here with us. And when I looked at the law, I felt it was time for us to possibly revisit and amend it.
But have you considered that even if we go to where you want to go, which is the abortion within certain limits, that because of the religious stigma and deep-seated belief about how sinful abortion is, that some people still will not want to have it the legal way because they don't want people to know that I had an abortion?
I don't know if I can really answer that.
Yeah.
I don't
Have
know.
you- but have you
I've
thought
not,
about that?
I've not really thought of that. I think when you look at possibly studies in the world, I think when it's made legal and where women can actually, I think the stigma is not there as much. So that's something I would have to look into.
So you think,
I don't
you
think the
changing
stigma,
the law
I
would
think-
remove the stigma?
Yeah, right. I don't think the stigma would be there as much as it is now.
Right.
But I can't say definitively say yes,
Right.
that's what would happen. But I would think that women would feel more free to discuss, talk, get counseling, learn about the different options that they may have for adoption process, or just to counsel them. As you said, your hormones are going kind of out of whack, out of sync. Maybe if they're shown a video as to the process, maybe that will turn them off. But to do absolutely nothing and to keep this law there on the books, to say you will be punished if you do this, but women are still getting abortions illegally, where do we,
Yeah.
what do we do?
Right.
Because it's still, women are still going to be seeking abortions illegally if we do nothing. Do we then protect those women and make sure that if it is that they want, they will have safe abortions done by medical practitioners, and that their lives are not, and we don't have a bigger medical bill where we see these women ending up
Right.
at the hospital with different complications.
Tell me about the process now. So what happens? You want this to go to a joint select committee. Sometimes the joint select committees take 4 or 5 years, sometimes 10 years. It is highly likely that, you know, nothing much will happen. Why are you throwing it to a joint select committee?
You know, again, it's a split in the House. When you listen, we know that it is a contentious matter. We know that it is not such a simple matter, and I will be asking basically for a wider select committee. This was the last advisor panel was 2007, 2008. So about 10 years have passed. Let us widen that a little bit. And let us debate it in Parliament next week. Let's see where persons stand and try to get it to the Senate and then go from there. I would really want for this not to continue again and for it to be brought up another 10 years
It will.
in Parliament debating this matter. As you said, it will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is what I would want to see happen, is for some resolution
Right.
on this matter.
I have a really good question on Twitter from Damian D.P. Phillips. Saving the life of the mother cannot be seen as the same as the mother willingly taking the life of the unborn child. The question, does abortion make the rape victim feel better in any way? Would it?
I can't answer that. I've never been raped. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
And yes, as I said, this is not such a simple thing, is
Yeah.
it? It really isn't. And what I'm really asking is for us to then use the law against these women. Either you do that, you start doing that, and maybe that will prevent. It's on the books,
Yeah.
right? But nothing is happening.
Yeah.
So-
Let me go to the break. Very good question. Damien, what you should probably do is see if you can answer that question for me, right? Because the MP says rightly she can't answer. But here you'd have a woman who has been raped and a woman who has exercised this option of terminating the pregnancy. What does she feel? Or the other thing is she's been raped and then she has to turn around and to live with the offspring of this rapist. Can she do that? Some women have done it. Can they all do that? This is Hotline Interface. We're up on a break. We're back with you on the hotline. Thank you for rejoining me on Hotline Interface on JNN. Listeners, as you may know, viewers as well, I think it was in May of this year, they had a massive referendum in Ireland. And Ireland is highly Catholic society, very conservative on many fronts it used to be. they've had several referenda, as a matter of at least two I can think of. One was in relation to marriage for gays, and the other revolutionary one was in relation to the termination of pregnancies. And they had a referendum in May of this year, and the vote in that referendum was to overturn a 35-year ban on terminations, because young people, Irish, who had been all over the globe, had returned to Ireland, this highly Catholic society, to vote to repeal the existing law in this referendum. So the debate is taking place all over the world, and I'm quite heartened that it is taking place here as well, through Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn now, and there have been a couple others before her who've called for, you know, the restarting of the debate. I want to hear your thoughts as well. Do you have a question you want to put to MP Cuthbert-Flynn? Give me a call, 876-926-2178, 926-8631. We'll try and take at least 2 or 3 questions, because there may be positions that you want to hear articulated that I've completely missed here on Hotline Interface. Yeah, the position with Ireland, Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, massive. Perhaps close to us in terms of our beliefs because of the teachings of the Catholic Church. And I think in that society they don't even use contraception.
They don't.
Because of
the Catholic,
thinking. But this vote was so sure.
Yeah.
And it completely changed the law. What is it you think that is happening in the world, or that happened in Ireland, that led to this kind of revolutionary change?
I just think people are thinking differently. Well, another country, in Argentina, I think they came close, but I think once it got to the Senate, it was not passed, which they're also Catholic. But I think we see this happening in some of the other countries in Europe. Of course, they are mainly pro-choice countries. But you see in some other places, in the Caribbean, only a few places have actually amended the law for certain reasons, as I stated before.
So none of them is really blanket?
None of them are right. Because I think it's only when I looked up, Barbados and Guyana are the only two that have said, okay, you can under these circumstances. Bahamas is not there, and other islands are just not there. In Jamaica, we have been, as I said, debating this from what I've read from the 1970s, and we're still where we are.
Right.
So, you know, I think, you know, for me, again, as I said, I'm a mother. I have 2 children. I am all about giving life. But I think for some of these women under certain circumstances, and the law itself, how it's set up to punish women or to put them in jail, and something that we're actually not carrying out. And so which in turn stigmatize. And so the women go underground. And then we're seeing another thing happening where, you know, their lives are in danger or they end up dying. And so as legislators, my thing is, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
And I think that's where I am.
So you're doing something now.
I'm doing something.
Right.
It's, you know, yes, I'm getting backlash.
How bad is the backlash?
It's not that bad. Actually, it's very mixed. I get mainly not really from my constituents. My constituents have actually called me, and I said they agreed, and some, as I said, I've had meetings with me. These are religious groups against. So I think it's mixed. And again, as I said, it's not a political thing. It really comes down to a conscience, the person.
Yeah.
So on both sides in the House, I think it's pretty split as to
See,
as
I
to
don't
what.
even recall anything in the House where people have actually voted on conscience. I don't recall it. And certainly in the UK, where they voted on conscience with Brexit, what an absolute disaster. Let me hear your calls though. 876-926-2178. let me hear your thoughts on this highly religious and emotional issues for a number of people. We were to have a couple other guests here who would be taking a different view from Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, but we haven't been able to get them. But be sure that I will take their positions and have them speak as freely as I have allowed Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn to speak. This is Hotline Interface. Do we have anybody there with a question? 9262178, 9268631, 9267615. Well, as soon as they come, we will take that. So, you don't know in the House, as Frank, you don't know when, is it a private member's bill that you're going to be bringing the Termination of Pregnancy Act? Is that your hope? Or how will it go? You're not sure beyond the Joint Select Committee as yet?
Not sure. Right. Not sure.
All right, let me see who we have online now. This is Hotline Interface. Hello?
Yes, good morning. This is Charles. I'm over in East Rural St. Andrew.
Charles, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I want to congratulate Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn, whose courage I've been following since her days in athletics, for taking such a position, because it's almost automatically an offensive one in our society. But I think with the Christian position, the Christian lobby being the greatest opposers to this, I would think the Christian lobby should hold itself responsible for eliminating the causes of unwanted pregnancies, if it wants to have this impact of preventing unwanted abortions, of preventing abortions, I should say. And I don't think the Christians must conscientiously realize that the gospel is not doing its work. Either the gospel or the gospel proclaimers are not doing its work, and that is why we have such an undesirable level of rape and unwanted pregnancies in Jamaica. So I think the Christian lobby, if it wants to impact the position on abortion, it should first impact the causes of these unwanted pregnancies.
And what do you think those causes are, Charles?
Number one, we have a background in, we have a rebellious background coming from slavery. I understand that some of the most rebellious slaves on the mainland in the United States were sent to Jamaica. Number two, so we're intending, I don't know whether it's the rebellion against the slave.
Remember, a lot of the raping came from the colonizer, though, you know. Is them rape the house slaves, you know.
And Mr. Shields, the colonizers were the Christian leaders, which is the hypocrisy of all of it.
Well, true. And somebody is telling me, which I need to check out, that the biblical punishment for a rapist was for him to be forced to marry his rape victim.
Yes.
You recall that?
I have a degree in theology, I recall that.
Pardon?
I have a degree in theology, and I do recall that.
Where in the Bible is that found?
That is in the Old Testament. I will,
the Old Testament, yes.
Yes, I will look it up.
Yes, I'd be happy to hear that. But thank you for your thoughts, Charles.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All the best to you.
Bye-bye.
So at least somebody who sounds to be quite senior, quite researched. He's done theology, he says, and he's saying kudos to you for the courage in bringing this motion to the Parliament, Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn.
It's not, I thank him because it's really not it's not an easy matter this is something I thought about before bringing it to the Parliament. I knew that I would have gotten some backlash, but I felt the need to do it. Again, as I said, I know of women that are dying, and I do understand on both on both sides that yes, terminating a pregnancy is also causing the death of an unborn child. Again, what I want to see is a repeal of this act where it criminalizes abortion, and to give women safer ways, giving them an out if they choose to do so, but educating them first.
Right. So as you talk about education, you're in the house to influence that. You talk about places for counseling. There are not enough of those. What are you doing to lobby your own ministerial cohort to say, give me more of these for the young people who now have to face these criminal sanctions?
Well, yes, I even had a chance to speak with Minister Floyd, because I know he mentioned about the adoption policy, and we're trying to make that easier. I think that needs to speed up very fast, where women will, there are lots of women who actually want to possibly adopt in Jamaica, and it's very difficult to do so. So I think I want to see that happen, where if it is that persons, at least they'll know, okay, I can, if at the time when they give birth and they still want to put the child up for adoption, that they can.
Oh,
and it will be done.
I see the link you're making
right,
now.
It will be done in a speedy manner.
Okay, I see the link. Can I thank you? Interesting. Talking with MP for, by the way, are you going back next year, next election?
I'm not sure.
I'm not somewhere saying the Prime Minister is not going to send you back. It's true?
From who? From the Prime Minister? You saw a note
not
from
the Prime Minister. No.
Who you saw a note from?
we have to go. West Rural St. Andrew, MP.
I am going back.